Pokemon Sword and Shield are the biggest slap in the face to Pokemon fans since the anime tried to replace Brock with Tracy Sketchit. I mean, these games haven't even come out yet, and already the list of problems with them that we know about is as long as a whale lord. So, let's start with the big one. So at E3, they admitted that not all the Pokemon are gonna be in Sword and Shield, and that's fine. But they also admitted that any Pokemon not available at the game can't be transferred to it from an older game, even though they've made 2 separate services for specifically that purpose. Naturally, people were upset about this. So a full 18 days later, they finally respond and basically say, "We hear your concerns, so all your favorite Pokemon will probably be in future games, but still buy these games for $60. Now, for comparison, Nintendo found itself in a similar situation with Mario Maker 2, when they announced that when you play multiplayer online, you couldn't play with your friends, just a bunch of randos. Naturally, people weren't happy about that, and they complained, and almost immediately they came out and said, "Okay, yeah, good point, we'll put that feature in with a future update." They made a decision to exclude that feature, saw the fanbase reaction to that decision, and changed it to appease the fans because that's who the game is for. You give them what they want, or they don't buy your game. Speaking of giving people what they want, remember when X and Y came out and were like, "Look, Mega Evolutions," and everybody was like,
We'll take it.
Yeah, alright. Yeah.
but then the game came out and everyone was like,
Yeah!
and then Sun and Moon came out and they were like, "Forget Mega Evolution, try Z moves," and everybody was like,
Aww.
but then the game came out and everyone was like,
We'll take it.
Yeah, alright. Yeah.
so for Sword and Shield, they said, "Nah, forget all that garbage. None of that's in the game. Instead, have this stupid Dynamax thing." So all Dynamax does is make your Pokemon get really big and change all their moves to Z moves that aren't Z moves. They basically just took the ideas of Mega Evolution, Z moves, and Totem Pokemon and threw them all into one lazy idea. Rather than designing new Mega Evolutions for old and new Pokemon, they just make them bigger. Wow, what a great use of the Switch's hardware. The Nintendo Switch has revolutionized the way that Nintendo franchises can make games. Look at Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey. Both these games are incredible. Both of them capture the feeling of their franchises while completely revamping the gameplay to take full advantage of the Switch's power, which is all the more impressive because it's basically a calculator compared to the other consoles. So what's the big innovating gameplay change for Sword and Shield? You can move the camera around! Wow! That's real impressive on the frickin' N64. Not to mention the complete lack of creativity with some of the new Pokemon. So here they show Scorbunny using Double Kick, which implies that this thing is going to evolve into a fire-fighting type. Good thing we haven't seen that before. And look at the designs of these legendaries. I mean, the Shield guy is kind of alright, I guess, but the legendary for Sword is literally just a dog holding a sword in its mouth. You could have done all kinds of crazy stuff with that, but instead we get this. But I suppose they didn't have time to design good Pokemon because they were too busy making the good graphics for the game. Now, I'm not the kind of person to really judge a game by its graphics. Most of the time, as long as the player can tell what everything is, then that's enough. But here the lack of good graphics is indicative of Game Freak's whole attitude about these games. Yeah, Pokemon's our most profitable franchise, but let's take half the dev team and have them make this new town game that nobody wants. I mean, I could care less about, say, a low-res tree, but when I see a 3D Pokemon game for a console, I expect to see some fun animations, and none of that is present in Sword and Shield. Double Kick? Just have him imperceptibly move up real quick. Compare that to animations from the 2 Pokemon Stadium games, and it just looks like a joke. They designed their console's game like it's for the Game Boy. Now, in the ever-raging flame war that is Twitter, the lackluster animations have probably received the most defense from fans who say stupid stuff like, "Good animations make the game take too long." Yeah, gee, those attacks took forever. Wouldn't want to see that in my game. I much prefer this. Now, I've come down pretty hard on these games, and they aren't even out yet, so I do want to take the time to mention the things I like about them so far. I like that they're theming all the gyms on stadiums and treat gym battles like it's a national sport. And that gym leader battle theme, listen to this! And I love the memes with the female protagonist being Scottish, but that's not really anything Game Freak did, so I guess that doesn't count. Pokemon Sword and Shield look unoriginal, uninspired, and uninteresting, and if Game Freak doesn't care enough about the games to resolve or even properly address the concerns that fans have about them, I don't see why anybody should care enough to spend $60 on them. But hey, I'm sure they'll fix all those problems when they make Super Sword and Super Shield and charge us another $60 for those.